Hello? Yay. Hey, Nabbin. What have you been nabbing these days? 1,000 days programming challenge. Okay, that is a big challenge. My God, like 1,000 days in a row, no break. That is quite the username. Oh my. Hey, how are you? I'm good, Nassim. Very good. How are you? Anish, doing well, thank you. Nabin, just following my DSA course. Perfect. Yeah, it's right here, man. Hopefully you've been able to check out this website. It's all right here. Yo, Haraf. Just solved all my questions on AlgoMap. Really? Well, all you do is if your name is Eat, Sleep, Learn, Repeat, then yeah, I guess you'll get that done pretty quickly. What's my current job? You're looking at it, buddy. You're looking at my current job. IO. I've never been a huge fan of the IO. I remember there's one guy that I was tutoring who just always said like IO all the time. Hello. Yes, hello. That I understand. Real name is Ashraf. It's pronounced Ashraf. Yeah, okay, so I said it right. Good. Hi, bro. Yo, y'all gotta like ask some questions and not just say yo. I do appreciate the yo, I really do, and I want more of you to say yo. But we need some content here, you know. Now I'm just sitting here. GSA code. But so I do YouTube full time. Yeah, I currently do YouTube full time. I've been I've been jobless for the last few years, intentionally, of course. DSA goat. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Love the content. Yeah, no worries. Hey, man, could I suggest some good resources to practice low-level design? That seems to be such a common thing these days, that acronym of low-level design, which was never popular. Like when I was learning all of this stuff, it now seems to be becoming popular. Obviously, it's nothing new. Oh, Geeks for Geeks. I literally called this website bad for bads yesterday because as you guys, I don't know if you saw that story. Basically, I had spent yesterday morning trying to load up ads to run on the side here, right? Like I feel like it's not too obtrusive. It like keeps a way to make the website run. A little bit of monetization, but it just looked so bad. Like just all this stuff down the sides, and it's super distracting. So I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna monetize it differently. So that's okay. And don't worry, all this stuff, anything that's been free so far is always going to be free. I'm not gonna just randomly like paywall it or something. That would be funny. Um, Low level design, the phase in software development where detailed system components and their interactions are specified. Is it really a phase? It seems strange. Object oriented principles, process of analyzing and design. Man, that's so vague. It means nothing. Design patterns is, yeah. But why is that a step? Why is design patterns a step? See, this doesn't. I've learned all of this stuff. Actually, I don't know what solid is. What are solid principles? An acronym for the first. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I learned about those a while ago. I don't really remember. um, Okay, here we go. Here's some stuff filling out here. So, by the way, just to answer your question, Prem, I don't really know resources to learn that. I don't use that acronym. Actually, all the questions are well decorated. Glad to hear it. I can't even solve one question properly without seeing your answers. Am I doomed? No, that's actually extremely common. I've pretty much anyone that's learned this stuff has looked up a bunch of solutions. Anyone that really claims that they've just gotten great at solving problems by just doing it entirely by themselves and not looking up any solutions is probably not telling the truth and just trying to look cool as an influencer online or something. Most people have looked up tons of solutions, like for stuff, some of them here, like of course there's lots of them where I could figure it out myself. Like most of the stuff here I would have figured out. Most of these, I needed a little help with merge intervals when I first saw it. Spiral matrix actually got rotate image. I got really close. Most of these things I would have learned gotten by myself. But then some of them, like, come on, of course you would just look up the answers to some of these things. Like Dijkstra's algorithm, how do you solve a problem with that's basically Dijkstra's algorithm without knowing Dijkstra's algorithm? Like, of course you're going to look that up. Okay, currently, can we expect resources for system design for you? So I'm not sure. So I know it, and I kind of want to talk about it, but I also don't want to just branch out infinitely and just teach absolutely everything. So I'm thinking about it. I did some shorts on it, and you might. I'm not sure yet. I haven't really decided because one person can only focus on so many different things, and it is an important thing, of course. Sumik says, bro, currently in the last year of my college, unemployed. Well, of course you're in your college unemployed because you're in college. And so why would you be employed if you're in college? I don't know what to do. Lots of financial problems. Yeah, sorry. Parents' expectations. Yeah, I've hit that too. Really don't know what to do. And I'm frustrated AF. Yeah, I get that, buddy. I totally understand that. So you really just have to use that anger that you've got and just turn it into results, which is like, going through my university, I had a lot of, annoyance of many different things. And ultimately, I was like, okay, I could play the victim card and just kind of whine about it and sit in bed and think about how the world's unfair. Or you could just use that anger that you've got and turn it into results. And that's different for any person. For me, it was a lot of, at the time, machine learning and programming stuff. And then ultimately, I knew I wanted to do things entrepreneurially. I just made up a cool word there. And that's where I put my energy. Also, exercising, like running and working out, always helps. So just take that frustration that you've got at your parents, at your environment, the world, whatever it is, and you just gotta go do stuff with it. Cyrus says, "Hey Greg, I'm a secondary student and am currently learning Python and solve questions on LeetCode. Can you give me some suggestions to learn better?" Well, yeah, go to the website I've got right here. It's free, and it's an ordered roadmap. It's got all the theory. It's got all the problems. It's definitely learning better than just solving questions on LeetCode. And it's in Python, too. This is, while this is good for any language, it is definitely best for Python. I don't have to go into the details, but do the YouTube Shorts pay well? Or how am I monetizing the channel? I wouldn't say that Shorts pay very well. They don't really. I've had Shorts that go in the millions of views, and they're generally in the couple hundreds of dollars. So, I mean, it's a lot better than it used to be because, like, Shorts used to pay nothing. There was, like, the Shorts Fund or whatever a couple of years ago, basically when TikTok and Meta were all trying to compete for like the short, like the vertical audience, basically. There was like these sort of like boosts in money if you have like a certain goal, but I wasn't nearly good enough at that time. I'm not even sure if I'm good enough now. It was pretty hard to achieve. I probably am. But yeah, no, shorts don't pay that well. Long form definitely pay a lot better. And monetizing, you could figure it out. You could basically look around and see what I was doing to take a look at that. Nice name, Shri. Ha ha ha. I'd like to know whether only front end would be enough to get a job, even at a small startup. Thanks. Well, it's good enough to get a startup job that's in only front end, but that's going to be very rare, right? Like especially if you're talking at a startup, then I mean, you wear multiple hats, right? Currently, I'm only wearing an AlgoMap hat, but startup people do a lot of different things. And whether that's, you don't have to talk about just startups, whether it's that or a big company or whatever. Generally, they do need you to be versatile at multiple things. You'll likely be doing one certain thing, but you need to have the knowledge of the different things, because when you talk to those teams, you need to know what they're talking about. Like if you're a front end god and you can sit there and, build awesome React components, great, that's useful. But when you go into a team and you start having meetings with the data engineering team and the machine learning team and the business and the financials, like, you're going to talk about all these things, and if you don't understand it, then you're not very useful. And so that's why companies would generally prefer that you're specialized in one thing and you have general skills in all the others. So my advice, if you're looking for a job in front end, is to be best at front end, but also learn back end, learn a little bit about machine learning, a little bit about cybersecurity, a little bit about anything that you can really, and then you can just kind of have that as your backbone of experience while you're still specializing in that. Caleb says, hi Greg, have you ever used Clarify AI for image prediction tagging? What are some pros and cons of using it to build apps? Never heard of it. There's so many of these something AIs. Why is it CA? Clarify AI. Wow, that's really hard. I don't like the name that they picked there. Clarify the AI workflow orchestration platform. Oh, there's so many AI workflow orchestration patterns. I'm so sick of those. No. And if I sponsor a video on one of those, maybe I'll be more excited at that time. But there is a lot of them. Prem says, Greg, I'm a student of third year and just afraid, like I am a DevOps enthusiast. Oh yeah, right on for that earlier thing I was just saying about learning multiple things. DevOps is definitely something that everyone needs to know. I'm just afraid, like I'm a DevOps enthusiast, and I just want to know that as a fresher, will I get a job in India? I can't say that you will get a job in like anywhere. Like you can't expect me to just like reinforce the fact that if you're concerned about getting a job, then I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, which is that you will get a job. You will get what the market wants, and you also will get what you fight for, right? So there's going to be so many different people fighting for these jobs. You have to be one of the strongest people fighting for these jobs, which means you have to try harder. You have to have better skills. You have to have better interview skills, and the market's going to pick who they want to pick. And also you have to be a nice person. And a lot of people lose out on interviews because they're just jackasses, and that's a shame. So, and I think that sometimes people even aren't jackasses, but they might come across as it in an interview because they're just very straight-faced, nervous, and your personality doesn't come out. So try to be confident, and that's really going to help as well. So, bro, in your opinion, what is the best backend framework? Just Node is perfectly fine, honestly. Django and Node are really the only ones that I know. I don't see a point of learning more. If I want to just stick with mostly Python stuff, then Django's fine. If I want to branch out a little bit out of my comfort zone, then I would use Node. This is actually a Node. I'm better at Django though. My other website, my main company. By the way, you're talking about monetization, like this is a paid thing. MLnow.ai is the backend for this is in Django, and if you want to learn Python, basically master it, then you can do this and all the other stuff as well. But again, that is a paid platform. Thanks for AlgoMap. You're very welcome, Nikhil. Thanks, man. I'm learning Python and I knew DSA with C++. Got a huge break. I'm learning Python using AlgoMap. Glad to hear it. Loving it and trying to catch similar patterned questions. Thanks for making it free of cost. Yeah, no problem. You guys deserve it. Describe about my tech stack. I think I mostly got... I think I just did a little bit about that, but there's the tech stack of this is the front end is just base HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So a lot of the time people love like React and talk about these fancy frameworks. I honestly don't see a huge need because at the end of the day, it's still just going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's all that this is. Is this the most beautiful piece right here? No, it's not the most beautiful. In here, I'm pretty happy with it. Again, this is a really well formatted table with effects and highlighting, and it's still HTML, CSS, JS. So I don't really see a point of doing more. The backend is Firestore or Firebase. So for the authentication and for tracking the status of questions, that is going to be pinging your Firebase username basically. For ML Now, my company, this is again, the front end is still just HTML, CSS, JS. It looks really good, right? Like people wouldn't believe, most people would see this and be like, oh, this must be React, or this must be Angular or something. It's like, no, like you don't really need those things. You can still do fancy things like this, where this moves around, and all this stuff without any of those crazy things and pop outs like this. Like I'm so proud of like how this looks. So yeah, that's the front end. The back end of this is Django. So there's really not much more I can say about that. It is Django. It uses, I guess I could say that it uses like a cloud SQL backend. I use GCP for all this stuff. So I never really got a big hang of AWS. I just felt like everything was weird and it was hard to use. GCP I found a lot easier. Sarvesh, thank you for being a member, by the way. I really appreciate that. Hey, sir, recently started learning the data structures and algorithms, and surprisingly got a call from Google. That's amazing. Cleared their recruiter screening, and now I have DSA rounds in a month. That's awesome. How can I proceed? Any tips? Well, hopefully make sure that you can solve all of these 100 questions. They're very carefully picked so that for companies like Google and all of those companies, that these are the main sort of questions that they ask. Do as many as you can. In the all section here, I do have 18 more, which I've carefully picked again as generally the ones from the LeetCode top 150. So I still have to do more of these ones. But these questions are the sort of weirder ones that are just generally array-based problems, but very clever array-based problems. Like any of these remove ones, they're like weird two-pointer algorithms that you just want to have solved those before, that in case they ask those, which is relatively common for them to ask questions like this. This is maybe not the biggest one. Google 10, Apple 22 is still pretty good. But they do love to ask just these array questions. Google in particular is rather known to like dynamic programming. So make sure that you can do as many of those as possible. But again, anything is fair game, really. But make sure that you do the questions over and over and over again. Like just you should try and memorize these 100 if you can. Sahil says, hey, Greg Love from India. I wanted to ask, how should I do time management with DSA ML development? You just whatever you're feeling, honestly. Like try to have a basic understanding of the data structures and algorithms so that at least in any interview you're somewhat prepared. Like if you have no skill in that whatsoever, there's really no point of applying because you're just not going to pass really any job. At the same time, if you just spend all of your time on DSA, then you're not going to have the skills to get an interview. So try, to be pretty good at this DSA stuff. I don't know why I'm highlighting that. You don't need to donate. It's okay. I appreciate it if you do, but you don't have to. I'm just doing that on autopilot. But what was it saying? Okay, well, this is funny. How about how to cheat at interview test? Yeah, this is how I would cheat. Hey, Greg. I'm currently in third year of engineering and placement starts in a couple of months. What should I do to prepare to get a job in tech company as an SDE or full stack developer? What should I learn? So for all of those sorts of roles, make sure that you can build a website. Like people like to say things like front end or React or back end and Node or like sort of technologies. Just make sure that you can build a website. And there's so many different tools that you can use for that. For me, the first couple that I was using were like Flask, like those base Python APIs, Fast API. And just make sure you know how that works, right? And then from there, you will start to branch out and learn the different pieces as you want to. If you want to start to master front end, then you might start to hit React. If you want to get better at back end, you might start to see advanced things there. As long as you can build a website, you're mostly set. At least that's the way to start anyway. Started DSA in C++. What personal projects could I work on to improve my understanding of classes and also add to my resume? Personal projects to understand classes better. I would just ask ChatGPT everything you could about classes in C++, right? Like, of course, just how to make one and what they are, and then you go on to all of the object-oriented principles. Your Naeem is tagging someone, and I'm getting confused, so I'm just going to ignore. Sorry, sometimes this like question thing like just updates and spazzes randomly, so I get lost. Have I ever felt uncomfortable recording videos? Do I ever think about what if this friend or this family member sees this video? This is a great question, so I'd love to spend some good time on that. So it's been a while since I felt uncomfortable recording videos. There definitely was a time. It is, what is it? End of August 2024. I think I started in like mid 2021 or so. So it's been a while of doing this, and I've been very consistent since I started. Aside from my adventure of building ML Now, in that like 6 or 7 months, I wasn't doing as many videos. But for the most part, I've been pretty consistent. And I definitely felt really uncomfortable at the beginning. Like, actually, let me see if I can, let me try and show you my first video. Let's see if I still have it up. Oldest. Yeah. Okay, so like, let me get you the volume for this. It's actually hilarious, or you can watch it on your own time if you want. But let me just make sure you can hear this. Speakers. I think that should work.
LinkedIn is the place to be. Start advertising on the highest.
Hey everybody, and welcome to.
It's so quiet, like it's absurdly quiet. Let me crank it up.
Introduction, Sutton and Bartow, 2nd edition walkthrough. So in this series, we're gonna read through this book, and no, I don't mean page by page. I'm gonna make you watch me read every word, and then
I don't know if you could hear that, but for some reason this has 520 views. I'm like spamming some sort of promotional thing. I don't even know what this is. Try Sensama for free. Like, what am I doing? I don't know if you could hear that, but it's so bad. And so from here, I at least spoke about some interesting concepts.
-2. We now have an idea. Got 4 plus 7 is 11. Minus 8 is.
You can watch it on your own time. It's so quiet. Yeah. Anyways, the point of that is to show that I was extremely uncomfortable. Like, I was like just doubting everything I was saying, and rightfully so, because like even though I knew what I was talking about, the video was like terrible at the end of it. I did like no editing on it, so there'd just be massive pauses. If I like made a mistake, I would just like sit there fixing the mistake. Whereas right now you can see how clean everything is, right? If I make like a LeetCode video, there's going to be no errors. It's going to be, everything is punchy. It's going to be well paced. And you can see even in my time of making LeetCode videos, like you'll see that the later ones, the more recent ones, are just more smooth. It feels more comfortable as a listener and less kind of spazzy. So, regarding the family member thing, so have I ever felt weird about family members seeing my videos? Actually, no. So this is a very, very common thing, and most people that are going to try and make content will be most worried about that idea, is what if my family sees me fail? What if they see me make a funny face, or that I have a pimple or whatever? I genuinely don't care. I really don't, and I never have cared about that, because basically, like, I care about bringing value to the community. I've clearly done that. There's lots of you watching right now and listening to me talk about whatever. And I'm doing it for me as well, right? Like, obviously everyone should be in it for themselves and doing things that benefit themselves. And obviously this content creation and building out of these websites has really helped. So there's nothing about kind of me making videos that is going to worry me about my family seeing them, because like whether they see me and it looks stupid or not, it doesn't really impact the things that I'm trying to do, right? Like, I have these goals, and so those things don't affect my goals at all. So there's your answer. People just need to care less. I just don't care. Where can we use these data structures and algorithms related concept, back end or front end? everywhere. So it comes up everywhere, but in general, they're mostly for interviews. Is it realistic to expect that one might be able to get a job in big tech within 3 to 6 months of prep? I can do most problems, easy, medium problems at the moment. Well, okay, so that's not, let's be careful here. Like if you're starting from nothing and you have 3 to 6 months of prep, you could still do that because that's a pretty good timeline. If you were saying 1 to 2 months, it'd be like, that's a little tricky. Most people at their normal pace, I feel like 3 to 6 months is pretty reasonable. Definitely if you can already do problems. Also, I almost guarantee that you're lying, by the way. Like, let's be honest here. You can do most easy and medium problems. I really doubt it. Have you seen some of the mediums out there? I believe you could do most of the easies. You could probably do many of the mediums, but I do not believe that you could do most mediums, like 80% or so, like within like 30 minutes. That's very, very, very tough. I have an online assessment with Susquehanna. Am I supposed to know what that is? You gave it a capital too. They're very susky. Susquehanna International Group. Who are these people? Okay, they look white mostly. Are they American? Some financial group. Okay. Gotcha. Let's see. You have an online assessment with them. Any tips? A little nervous. Just do the algo map questions. I don't really know what to say. To start with arrays, which video should I watch first? The Python course or the other videos? So that's up to you. I've purposely placed this without an ordering here, while it's most people to read left to right. And so this is my recommended order of like a big O and then arrays and then just like really learning the language. Actually, truthfully, that's not why I put it in that order. So basically, I put this in this order as in I didn't want the word Python to be the first thing that people saw, right? Like I want this to be still very useful for any person in any language. And I found that that's true from hearing the feedback. It's probably a little bit better for the Python people because all code, the only code I say aloud is in Python code, but there's code solutions for all the problems, and in any of these, actually in literally all of them but that one. This is really loud. So
Wix. One platform, any website.
This guy.
Unlimited creation.
Oh boy.
Hey guys, great.
So in all of this stuff here, there's code solutions in all these languages for the theory as well. So while I go through the video generically, you can see here like C++, you'll see, here's the whole folders. So you can see here how to do all these things in C++. So like use vectors in this case for appending, popping, inserting. You could do all of this stuff, right? So I just didn't really want people to like see Python beginning because then it strongly implies that you need Python. If you instead see big O and then generic arrays and then, okay, now it's like there's a programming course. It's just like a different feel to it in my mind anyway. But to answer your question, to start with arrays, which video should I watch? To start with arrays, which video should I watch first? The Python course or the other videos? Generally, I would probably recommend, if you are doing in Python, learning Python first, and then you can go do all this other stuff after. I see LeetCode in the bookmark bar. Have you ever used this website? Is this a meme? That's got to be a meme. I have it. Just to make sure, I have indeed used LeetCode before. I've probably pinged that website 1 million times this year. Bro, can you suggest roadmap for full web development? So to start out, what's actually really nice is the Code Academy one. So they have a lot of stuff for web development, and it's a little bit hard to learn web development on their platform. Like you can't really master it there because you just need to use your own computer or at least a cloud computer for web development. But they actually do have a really nice, where is it? Yeah, so it looks like I've actually done it, I think. Yeah, they talk a lot about these different things. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, those are the main things. Yeah, it's pretty much what the web development pathway is, to be honest, those things. What are the core courses for becoming a software engineer? Too generic. You'd have to figure out these days what exactly you want to do. Sorry, it just spazzed, loaded, and really threw me away here. I'm starting my CSE journey as a computer systems engineering, but actually a self-taught want to get data analyst job. Okay, now I'm confused. Strats? I don't know. I have lots of videos on my YouTube channel about data analysts. If I cannot solve questions even with a hint in 30 minutes, that means am I dumb or something? No. Listen, like there's such a I'm so tired of like people like feeling this way. Like it's so frustrating where it's like, am I dumb for not being able to solve these problems? No. Okay. When LeetCode says that problems are easy, it doesn't mean that they're easy. Let me give you the best example possible, and I will show you in the bit manipulation section. This is new in case you guys didn't get a chance to see it here. These are all easies. I got an abundance of replies like via my story that says, Greg, why are you only showing us easy questions? This is rated a 9. In my opinion, okay, this difficulty score is I've done the question, I've solved it, I've most likely taught it back, I know how hard it is to come up with it / to learn it, and I give it a 9. Whereas there's lots of problems on here that are rated as mediums, which I give here. Best time to sell, buy and sell stock 2. It's honestly really not that bad. I give it a 5.5, right? And this one, sort colors, if you know, if you're familiar with sorting algorithms, like if you're very strong in that or you've done it recently, you'll have heard of a counting sort, and this is going to feel like a 2 out of 10 to you. You'll be like, this is a counting sort, right? So, but there's just no scenario really when you would read, like, say, add binary, and you're going to think that it's easy, because it is just really not easy. Let me show you the solution for this. Basically, you're given 2 binary strings and you want to return their sum as a binary string. Now, you can do the method where you just basically implement addition, and that method would be fine. However, the optimal solution, or the one that employers are actually looking for, is brutal. You have to make some conclusion that you have to combine summing without a carry and with a carry, and so the without the carry is A XOR B, and to get the carry it's A and B left bit shift by 1, and then you update them both repeatedly until B is 0. Like, come on, who is going to come up with that? It's just ridiculous, man. And then the time and space complexity to analyze those, it's just very, very confusing as well, because you're working with bits, and it's like, are we talking about like big O of the number of bits, where the bits is almost certainly like 32 or 64, or are you ignoring that and just talking about the algorithm? Like, it's so confusing. So trust me, when it says easy, that does not mean that it's easy. It might mean that getting the brute force solution is easy. It might mean that. Still, like, sometimes it even doesn't. Number of 1 bits here. This one is just brutal. Write a function that takes the binary representation of a positive integer and returns the number of set bits, which is just the number of 1 bits. So for number of 11, in binary it's 1011, you'd return 3 because there's 3 ones in the binary representation. To actually calculate that, yeah, sure, it's easy. It's very easy to see the number of ones that are in it, but to get the interview solution that they're actually looking for, it's while the number is not equal to 0, you increment your count, and then you keep setting n equal to the and of itself and n minus 1. Like, how are you going to randomly think of that? You're probably not, let's be honest. So trust me, it being easy just is a punch in the face to like anyone that's trying to feel better about this stuff. Oh boy. Will I ever get a tattoo? I strongly suspect I will never get a tattoo. Is dynamic programming just basically recursion? No, sir. No, sir, it is not. Dynamic programming is basically a few steps here. Hopefully I can remember them. Number one, let's just write this down here. Steps for dynamic programming. Number one, the first step is to write the naive recursive solution. So that is the one that's probably going to come to your mind. It's probably the brute force solution, not necessarily. From there, generally, it's almost trivial to apply a cache to this. So basically, you just add a cache, which means remember function calls, and usually use that like a dictionary for that, maybe an array. And yeah, you just remember when you've called a function before on a certain value. If you've already done that, then you never want to do it again. And so you just remember the function value, and then you just return that in O of 1 time instead. So this is bottom-up dynamic, or sorry, this is top-down dynamic programming, because recursion is like a top-down thing. It's like, hey, we want n, so let's try and get n minus 1, so let's try and get n minus 2, and so let's try and get n minus 3, and all the way down to your base case of like 1 or 0. And then from there, it's like you're probably doing a bunch of overlapping. You probably have overlapping subproblems, and so you apply a top-down dynamic programming with a cache, and then from there, you try to switch that to bottom-up DP, otherwise known as tabulation, and that's that can be very tricky. So between these two, this can be very, very, very hard. Almost feels impossible in some circumstances. I would have to say, if again you scroll to the bottom here, and you go to the medium problem, like I've given this a 10 out of 10 because it honestly deserves it. Longest common subsequence. There's the solution in JavaScript. Here it is in Python. This is the bottom-up solution. This is just insane stuff. Like, I know anything feels daunting when you just randomly throw a bunch of code on the screen, but trust me, coming to this conclusion is just not fun. Okay, so you get to bottom-up dynamic programming, and then from there, if you can, so this is optional, or I mean, in an interview, if you can, then generally you have to pass, but you generally would want to try and reduce the space and get to constant space. So whether you can reduce that from n squared to n, or if you can reduce that from n to constant, you want to try and work towards constant space bottom-up solution, known as basically tabulation without the actual table. And by table, we just mean array. So those are your 4 steps. Then build the naive recursion. God, I'm saying the naive recursion solution, which doesn't work. Build the naive recursive solution. 2, do your top-down dynamic programming, aka memoization. 3, do your bottom-up dynamic programming, aka tabulation. If you can remove the space, then you'd remove the space. Is it work for CP? I don't know what that means. Hi, Greg. How important is DSA for data scientists? Very, because nowadays, data scientist, especially the term data scientist, data analyst is still kind of staying what it was, but data scientist is more and more merging into general computer science / just software engineer. And so definitely in big companies, they are going to keep asking LeetCode style questions. And so definitely do that. And also just data scientists, a lot of them tend to not have as good programming skills as main programmers, and that can really hold them back. So going through the general process that software engineers would really help you stand out as a data scientist. Mike says, can I explain where should I use a stack? Well, generally, they're not too bad, right? So for the stack problems, I would say the first 4 here are pretty obvious that you should use a stack as long as you've kind of used a stack before and you know how they work. Should be fairly obvious. Valid parentheses, one of the arguably the most asked coding question of all time. It feels like you should use a stack because you're checking parentheses, and the way that works, it just follows the principle of like you care about the most recent one that you've put in, not like the first one that you put in. Okay. I don't like to use those first in, first out, last in, first out things because they just confuse me, and I think they confuse other people too, so I don't say those. But generally, it's when you're concerned with the most recent thing that you saw, and you're not as concerned with like the further back stuff that you saw like a while ago. Do I think it's a good idea to put all the LeetCode solutions in a GitHub repository and put it on my profile? No. So this is very tricky. I feel like I should, because I am almost known for this stuff at this point, and it's part of my resume. For the generic person that's learning data structures and algorithms, there's, not to just kind of throw you all in a box, but like, let's be honest, there's like millions of people doing it. And so it doesn't really help you stand out at that point, because there's hundreds of thousands of people that are good at this stuff. And unless you're like in the top like 0.1%, top 1%, there's not really a huge benefit of doing that. And it might just make you seem like you're focusing on LeetCode. Like, it's weird. Like, companies want you to be good at LeetCode, but they don't want you to talk about it. Like, they just want you to somehow naturally be like amazing at this stuff, but also just be amazing at all the other stuff too. And so just putting it at the top of your resume, it kind of makes them feel that you're just trying to get into the company and not like you can provide value to the company, right? They want you to provide value. And so to do that, you need to have the skills. And then they're also going to throw this, frankly, kind of BS test at you. And that's in the form of LeetCode. Someone's talking about CP, C++, Chris Paul. I don't know. Hey, Greg, find backtracking problems really tough to visualize. Any tips on how to approach an unseen backtracking problem? Yeah. So firstly, you want to try and do it the index way, which is if you see combination sum, there's a way to do this without thinking about it as an index. And same thing with permutations. There's actually, I don't use index for that one. There is also... That's because you don't actually need an index for this one. However, there's a very different way of writing this as well. Basically, you want to think about them all, try and think about them all in the same way. And all the problems, if you do them in the same way, they'll all start to feel very similar. And the more you sort of do the weird solutions, which I think permutations, if I remember from the editorial, they have one that's different from me. Let me see. Oh no, I have exactly the same code. Yeah, my solution is almost identical to that, but I have these things up here. That's funny. I didn't copy from that. It's funny how similar it is. You want to try and approach them all the same way, basically, and you won't get a feel for that until you do them. But learn them from me. Of course, that's my advice. Like, sounds so selfish, but like genuinely, like I've formatted all of these so that they're kind of taught in the same way. And if you start to do them all a little bit differently, then they'll all start to feel very different. But if you do them all kind of in the same way, which is the way that my solutions have been done, then they'll all start to feel very similar. And for visualizing them, draw them out. Like, I use Miro. It's so nice. I just draw absolutely everything. Whether I've done it, whether I'm doing it for the first time or doing it for the millionth time, I still draw it out. Do a speed test of internet? Of LeetCode? I'll do a speed test on internet. Like this, that's, if I just type speed test, I'm pretty sure that's what it would do. The Ukla one. Hopefully this doesn't kill the stream at the same time. See, look at how bad these ads look, man. Like, I run ads. I almost ran ads for a second on AlgoMap. This is my internet. Try not to get too jealous. Look at that. We've got a latency of basically nothing, a download latency of basically nothing, and what is this? Wow, upload is that fast? Yeah, that's pretty insane. Welcome to downtown Toronto, and the servers that they're measuring from are basically right beside me here. They're all going to be going to Toronto and back, which is where I already am. So the numbers, especially the ping, is going to be like extremely low. But honestly, that's pretty actually insane there. 946 megabits per second and 934 for upload. Yeah, I actually didn't even know my internet was that good. Good flex. Anyways, you asked for it, not me. Hey, I'm a second year computer science. And that was during the stream, by the way. That was actually, it might be like twice or three times as fast, because right now I'm actually using like a massive bit rate to run this stream, because I'm streaming in basically 2K resolution and 60 FPS, which is extremely high. Most people would do 1080p 60, and some might even do 1080p 30, which is basically you're just dividing by 2 every time. So I have lots of times 2s in there, so that's a lot of pixels being sent over. Hey, I'm a second year CS student, but I'm also looking for a free boot camp. There's no such thing as a free boot camp, really, that I can enroll to so I can further my skills in the IT department. Do I have any recommendations? Boot camp generally means live. So if they're using the word boot camp and it's free, then they're kind of just using that term wrong because that's not really what boot camp means. If you want like a pace yourself roadmap, then I mean, it's definitely like right here. Bro, suggest best machine learning / ETL. This question gets me. It usually comes up every few days. Bro, suggest the best project in X field to get a job in Y. And it's just the worst question, and it actually pisses me off. There's no one project that gets you something. In fact, any project that someone would recommend is going to get you nothing. Why is that? Because people have done it before. They're saying something, some sort of recommendation, because they already have done it, because they already know someone else that's done it. Most likely there's 100,000 people that have done it. And especially in data analysts, basically, there's only so many different things that you can, you can analyze data for anything here. But in terms of the skills, most people are going to build some sort of SQL project or, Spark or something like that. You really need to build something that has not been done before. And especially in data analysts, I strongly recommend that you learn front-end to back-end engineering so that you can then apply all of those skills to data analysts. So there is no one project. I will never answer that question with, this is the project you should do, because there's no project. Thank you for replying, Shri Hahaha. I love the name, Shri Hahaha. Oh, sorry, I already answered that. I just love that name so much. I just get drawn to it. Hi, don't solve easy problems. Oh boy. Oh, don't solve easy problems. That is, man, a couple bad questions in a row here. That's not a question. That's a strong bad statement. Okay. If you don't solve easy problems, you're missing out on so many that get asked all the time. Firstly, how do you go from easy to medium if you skip easy? Because you won't be able to do medium without doing easy. And you're missing out on so many commonly asked questions. You're missing out on two-sum, man. Like, two-sum is rated as an easy because the brute force is not that bad. Do you know how many times this question gets asked? This is current results. Google has asked two-sum 80 times in the last 3 months. Amazon has asked 69 times, nice number, in the last 3 months. Microsoft, 34. Are you kidding? Don't solve easy problems. You don't want to like this is generally very high probability that you get asked a question like this. And it's whether it's two-sum or it's like two addition or two number sum, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be pretty much the same question. And companies love to do that. So that is seriously the dumbest advice I've ever heard for LeetCode is don't solve easy problems. Terrible, terrible advice. I am 25, starting coding for a job. What roadmap do you recommend? I'm also 25. Just to let you know, not that you care. Backend or data science or machine learning. Whatever you pick, man. Like, honestly, I can't say which one is best. The job market is rather unpredictable. Of course, AI is going to keep being popular. Of course, software, people are going to keep needing software. As soon as any company ever starts, they will need software. As any startup tries to grow, they will need more and more software. So and for the big companies, they always have these sort of projects that are spinning off, like AWS was just like a one-off project, and then it became like basically a whole company. So there's always going to need software. So I can't really say which one is best. CP means more than two things, right? I can think of so many things that are CP. Oh, I didn't even say the one that you probably mean. You probably mean competitive programming, right? So for CP, let me see all the ones I could think of. CP is 1, competitive programming. So that would basically mean LeetCode on steroids. Oh, competitivity. That's not right. Competitive programming. That's right. I actually know one. I said it earlier, there's a basketball player named Chris Paul. He's generally CP3, but he's very good. There's also short for C++ because, would it? Actually, I'm not sure. Let me see if that comes up. Programming CP. Constraint. Oh boy, what is this? Constraint optimization or constraint programming is the name given to identifying feasible solutions out of a very large set of candidates where the problem could be modeled in terms of arbitrary constraints. What the heck is that? Is this like a LeetCode problem? Yeah, 2 classic CP problems are the n-queens problem. Oh, n-queens. But Google has a online n-queens thing? Do they have code? They do have code. But it's written in like a Jupyter Notebook style because they have like different cell blocks. Model. Wait, this is in machine learning. Model.add. Where is this? Google OR tools. What was OR? And you install the OR tools. OR tools is fast. Yeah, but what is it? Won gold in the International Constraint Programming Competition every year since 2013. But what is it? They just keep saying it about OR tools. OR tools is an open source. What is the OR in OR tools? You know who's going to know that question? Probably someone in the chat, but I'd rather a different chat. What is the O in OR tools? The O stands for operations and operations research. Okay, yeah, gotcha. That's crazy. So Chris Paul, competitive programming, Chris Paul. I still think it's short for C++. I've heard people do that. As well as constraint programming. Constraint. So is that the same as competitive programming? Do constraint programming and competitive programming mean exactly the same thing? I don't know. Oh my gosh. Oh, he's triggering me. Hi, don't solve easy problems that too with Python. What are you saying, bro? Now you don't want to use Python, which is the best language for data structures and algorithms? Like, what are you on about? Greg, I don't like doing CP, but my seniors are forcing like it's necessary. Yeah, they're probably right. Probably is. Greg Hogg, is it live or pre-recorded? Well, this is pre-recorded. Hey, Greg. Oh, boy. It updated again, and it went crazy. Okay. It's unfortunately that time again where I have to say you should try to become a member if you can. Again, it's only $1 a month. I say that again for your benefit and not so much for mine, although it does benefit me and I appreciate it, because there's a lot of chat right now, and I promise you I'm not going to be able to get to it. So if you do want me to read your question, please just press the Become a Member button. It's like $1 a month, or you want to pay more. I really do appreciate it. You can pay more and you get the members only video I have for mastering DSA in a better way. But yeah, there's a lot of questions here I probably won't be able to get to answer. I've created a Chrome extension called SurfSmart. Honestly, I just am going to stop reading, bro. I got to be so honest, Vishnu. This is going to crush you. I just don't care about your Chrome extension. I really don't. Sorry about that, buddy. Not right now. Maybe later. Probably not. Nikhil says, what's the best way to think about recursion while solving, and how to come to know how we know it's a recursion problem? Practice. I would have to say it's a little bit hard to recognize unless you've done them before. And generally you can do anything with recursion or without recursion. You can do both, but some things do naturally come better with recursion, and that's just going to be when you do enough recursive problems, aka just solving problems with recursion. You'll start to think that way. So there's really nothing I can really say. If you do have like a base case, like if it says a base case, then you can probably work that as a base case and then do the recursion on that. But it really just does take practice. What should we do with DSA for a good John? A good job. I have no idea what that means. I really don't. Greg, do I learn assembly? No. I mean, I've learned assembly. I haven't touched it since I learned it, which was 5 years ago. Recursion and backtracking, difficult for me to wrap my head around. Yep, they sure are. Just solve those problems on AlgoMap and they will help. How to master DSA with Java? Well, you check out AlgoMap, and then you watch the videos, and then you check out the code solutions I have in Java. It's been months, and I am still rarely able to solve new problems. Why does this chat do this? I'm reading something, and then it just moves. Like, come on, I'm reading something. Wait, did you retract it? Oh, that's why. Because you retracted your message right when I was reading it. Okay, not so funny. I see you. I'm not going to be able to answer that because you took it away for some reason. I'm forgetting the old things, like as I now do DFS and BFS problems, I forgot how I was doing backtracking. Like, can you explain how to overcome this? And one more thing, explain the backtracking code. Well, I'm not going to explain all the backtracking code. Yes, I can do that. So basically, you need to keep repeating these. And even me, like, when I step away from solving them and I go more into the developing the website or developing the business or whatever, the more I just forget this stuff, right? And even though I've learned it so well before, I could come back to it really, really easily. Like, I still remember most of the solutions here, but I do know that I knew them better as I was like actually doing them. And so you just have to do them many, many times. I think about it as it's not just like a list of stuff it's like a check, 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 check. It's like you try to check them off, and then you need to keep mentally checking them off in your mind as you go down the list, because you really don't want to get down to stacks and then you forgot how to do some of the most important questions here, like merge intervals. You need to remember that because that's going to likely come up in an interview, right? If you look at this, like, people ask this question all the time, right? So while it's really hard and only people have limited time, you do just want to remember the things that you've done. You never want to leave yourself in a state where you're learning but forgetting, because you're not actually building yourself up, right? Like, if you learn and you forget, you learn and you forget, you're not getting anywhere new. You have to learn, remember, and then if you have less forgets, then your curve is going to go up, right? Like, so let me just like draw this out generally. If you're trying to learn something, then you might learn something and go up here. And then if you learn something new, then you would go up like that, but you generally forget it if you forget the old stuff. So what would happen is you go up here, and then you forget stuff, and you learn here, you forget stuff. And if you kind of just have both of those things, if you're learning and forgetting, you're not really getting anywhere, right? So what you want to do is you want to learn stuff. Okay, I'm going to forget only a little bit because I'm going to keep practicing all of the stuff that I've learned, and then we're going to learn more. And then while there's more to try and remember here, because you have to remember all of this stuff, it's easier to remember it because you've already spent time remembering this piece, right? Like, you've already spent extra time remembering that. So as you keep going up here, you're maybe forgetting a little bit, but if you keep kind of doing these things over and over again, like, imagine how many times you're going to have seen this question. You're going to have seen all of these questions so many times, and all of these questions so many times. And then when you get to the end of, like, say, dynamic programming over here, well, then, of course, you're going to have to do those many times, but at least you're going to know all of this stuff really well, which is extremely important for dynamic programming. Like, it's a roadmap, right? Like, all of this stuff down here, it does build on each other. And so if you already know how to do recursion really well, then it's going to be not so bad to come up with a recursion solution for a lot of these because you already know it. Love you too, man. Or woman, but highly guessing it's a man. Just by the statistics, given it's around 90 to 10 or 87 to the 13 or whatever, willing to guess it's a man. Hi, Greg. Currently, I'm in my final year of computer science engineering. I feel Java is a comfortable language. I really love the way you teach the logic. Can I make videos in Java also? We'll see. I am not as comfortable with Java as you are, but I might pretend to be for the sake of teaching it, because I know so many of you want the videos in Java. I am going to go through and answer the members' questions because staying true to my word. Sarav says, hey, Greg, with like 7 Gs. Hey, Greg, I want to completely understand and master recursion. How do I do that? Well, I mean, definitely make sure you know the recursive backtracking section. Definitely know the dynamic programming section, because all of these can be solved recursively, and then you translate it. And it's a good proof that you know recursion really well if you can write the recursion and then translate it to a bottom-up solution with for loops or while loops, because that shows it's not just like code in your mind of being written. It's like you can actually picture the path of these things, and then you can write the bottom up version, which is like the opposite of the recursion. Yeah, solve them both ways for sure. Just came here to say thank you. Well, you're very welcome, Ginger. I am a ginger underneath this headphones and this hat, too. So Rav says, I find it really hard to visualize and understand recursion problems. Yeah, you have to draw them out. Draw everything out, every single thing. It does really help if you slow it down and draw it out. Most people skip that step. What do we got here? How to multiply two ints that are at most 10 to the 500,000? I don't know. Samir says, yeah, but I don't know nothing about it. So from when I've lost that. I'm sure you're referencing a different piece of the conversation. Shiv. I am 4th year engineering student. I know DSA concepts, 1,600 LeetCode questions. Okay, yeah, you know it. You've done a lot more than me. My God. Can you guide me? What are some good projects? I'm interested in data science and open for web development. Guide me the shortest path. Let me tell you, folks, if you're looking for the shortest path, and especially, I can tell that if you're saying you've done 1,600 LeetCode questions and you're also at the same time asking for the shortest path, that you do not know those 1,600 LeetCode questions that well. And I would rather know, say, 100 to 120 well-picked ones extremely well than not knowing 1,600 very well. I would take that trade-off every day. So I'm not going to give you the shortest path, because if you're looking for the shortest path, you're going to end up with the longest path that never works out whatsoever. You really are. So trust me, go the long route. If you've seen, I have taken the long route for basically my whole life here, and it's working out pretty well, I'd have to say. Do you think there was a short path to making 937 videos, or a short path to 253,000 followers or whatever? I'm sorry to flex, but genuinely, this was not me thinking oh, how can I do this, get this in the shortest way? It was, how can I bring the most value? How can I learn the most? And what's going to be the things I have to do to get to where I want to be? And when you do those things, you will end up on the path. And if you keep trying to take shortcuts, it's just not going to work. A lot of folks look down upon Python, especially for DSA. That's mostly India. My mates say it doesn't really push your thinking skills like C++ or Java would. Your mates are confused, wrong, and just saying that because other people have said that, and they probably are saying that because they just want to further their own opinion of themselves, because the more they push down other stuff, the more they feel like what they're doing is the right thing. My thoughts, coming from people that have literally done every question on LeetCode, say that Python is the best for it. So those people are incorrect. And if it's an employer, then okay, sure, maybe you won't get that job. And if you are in India, and most of the jobs, a lot of the time they make you use Java or C++, from what I understand, sure, that's what they prefer, and that's fine. They're just a bunch of people that are wrong, though, and that's fine. Can I do a video on memoization? Yep. To understand memoization, either watch this prereqs video on AlgoMap. You can learn top-down memoization and bottom-up tabulation. That's going to show you how to solve Fibonacci number, and from there you'll be set. Any tips for people who want to learn data analysis, and how should they start? I've made videos on this before. But you can just Google the skills or ask ChatGPT the skills, and it's going to tell you. Subod. I've never seen that name. Subod. That's an awesome last name. It sounds like a Pokemon. Chamankar. It's like Chimchar. Or Charmander. It's like Chimchar and Charmander. How to learn data structures and algorithms. Great question along with it, too. Oh, boy. Go to this website. Prem. I've been seeing Prem a lot these days. I don't know if it's the same Prem or a different Prem, but thank you, Prem. Whether it's you or your brother Prem or your other brother Prem, or if there's also a girl named Prem something, I'm not sure. Thank you, all the Prems. How long does it take to master trees and graphs? I know basics of linked lists and recursion. Well, it's going to take a few weeks, I would have to say. Like if you get to the graphs section on AlgoMap, then each of these questions should be, roughly like an hour or so to really understand them well, and then you just keep doing them. So maybe 10 to 20 hours, you will really, really understand the graph theory stuff. Some of it takes pretty long, right? Like understanding prims and Dijkstra's, that could take a few hours each. Are you in college? No, I've graduated. Where do I study? I'm not in college, so I don't study. What's the most unoptimized way to solve 2-sum? I could probably do that. You want me to solve 2-sum the brute force way? I can do that. Given an array of nums and an integer target, return the indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target, and there's only going to be exactly one solution. Well, how do you look at all pairs of numbers? If you get n is the length of numbers, and for I in the range of n, and for j in the range of I plus 1 to n, you'll look at all the pairs, and then you would just say if nums at I plus nums at j is equal to the target, then we can return the two indices I and j. It's very unoptimized. Oh, see, okay, it still accepts it, but I'm real slow in the real part of slow town. Have I proved to you that I know data structures and algorithms because I know 2-sum? Wow, look at me. Such a crazy problem, right? Hi, Greg. In final year, have I said that? I think I've seen that. I don't know if you're asking multiple times. I think I've seen that before. Love you too. Icky ick. Ashraf says, I'm not going to lie, I'm considering doing content creation as well. Go for it. It's very useful for many reasons, mostly confidence. It'll make you more confident. It seems like teaching what you know almost always pays better than applying that knowledge. No, it doesn't. So you could be, it depends what you do, and definitely how hard you work for it, right? Like, so for example, if you're talking about learning data structures and algorithms, then you could spend 0 to 6 months or so. And after this 6 months, we'll say that this is the 6 month mark right there, you could be making, say, 300K, right? Like, it depends the job. If you're working at Goldman or you're working at Meta or something like that, after 6 months or so, you might randomly go from making $0 to $300,000 or $200,000 or whatever you want it to be. Whereas if you learn this stuff and teach it back, it's probably going to look something like this. Say that this is like 3 years. We'll just say, we'll say 3 years is over here. It might take you like this. You're going to be like making like nothing. And then it's going to like slowly start to curve up like that. And then hopefully it's exponential. But it'll probably take an absurdly long time until you're able to do that. AlgoMap's very useful. I'm glad to hear that. I really do appreciate that. Hello. I find it really hard to visualize and understand recursion problems. I feel like I've seen that. Oh, because I answered the member-only question. Yes. How long do I think until someone is sufficiently solving mediums? That's just never really going to happen, right? Like, there's so many. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, when someone was claiming that they could solve like almost all the mediums, that's just not reality, right? Like, most of the people in like Google or Meta or whatever, they've solved roughly maybe 200, 300 questions, and that's kind of overkill. After about 100 or so, that's the main topics, and from there, it's just like practicing a little bit more. Honestly, being able to solve like most of the mediums, that's just a very, very difficult thing to do, at least in the most optimized way. You could definitely be solving the brute force for them, but if you go to LeetCode and you really just go through the mediums, you'll start to see that like you're really not going to be able to do a ton of them. Vignesh says, I've been using AlgoMap for Metaphone screening interview next week. That's so nice. Congrats. Best of luck for that. And I'm really grateful that it's been helpful. LeetLearn. I wish. Yeah, I think I have to go. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. So again, to stay true to my word, I've got to answer the members question. So Koa or Ko, I need to learn how to pronounce your name because I keep seeing you here. I didn't see your question. It's about, should I go back to learn/study your solution after I solve the question in my own way? Yes. No matter what you should do, you should at least watch the solution on, like, say 2 times speed, because you might be missing something, or at least look at the code to make sure that your code is not overcomplicated. For things like the linked list section, you can get some really nasty code here, but you want to learn it the way that's smooth so that all of them are smooth along the way. If you kind of fight through and they're all just tricky and your code is kind of nasty, they're just going to keep looking like that. And so you want to learn it the right way. Thank you, Sabasis, for saying I've been a great help. I really do appreciate it. Okay, thank you so much, guys. As always, okay, good. You saw that, so I'm glad I got the question. So, guys, as you literally just saw, I can only really answer the member questions guaranteed. So, if you can afford the $1 a month or $4 a month or whatever you would like to donate to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And it means I can actually answer your question, because I always feel bad that you guys ask a bunch of questions and I just literally can't get to them because there's so many. So for next time, if you want to become a member so that I'll actually answer your questions, I'm trying to do more and more live streams to answer these questions. But as I do that, there's just more and more questions to answer. So for your own purpose, I do recommend that you do that if you can. If you can't, thank you so much, and I will still try to answer the questions where applicable. So for now, I think I will answer one more question. Just I'm going to pick one randomly. Is it a good idea to learn both web development and data structures and algorithms together? So this is actually an interesting question, because you should learn DSA basically when you have to, right? Like, so you want to be prepared for that. It doesn't mean that, I really don't mean that if you have an interview, you want to start learning DSA a week before that. You want to be prepared for your job, basically. And so if you're in school, for example, and you're learning all these sorts of concepts, you can push off data structures and algorithms a little bit so that you build up your own skills. And then, if you know you're going to apply to a job in like 6 months, then you can start to grind that out. But the earlier you can kind of try to understand those concepts, it will be beneficial. But I'd have to say that they're not really going to join too well together, right? Like if you're learning web development and data structures and algorithms, it's not like they're going to go hand in hand too much. They're pretty different concepts. Okay, thanks so much for the chat, guys. I hope to see you again soon, and have a great day. Bye-bye.